2 days ago, we were discussing how, without the practice of Satipatthana, not being able to energize our mind in time, the mind cannot be developed, and so that it will remain small, weak, and immature as ever. Although physically we get old, we age, but mentally we remain weak and undeveloped, because we cannot energize our mind to purify it. The mind stays tender, immature, and not well developed. So, in this way, if the mind is weak, then we are bound to be overwhelmed by impurities such as greed, hatred, and so on. They will gain the upper hand, not we gain our upper hand over them. So that there will be craving about desirable objects and aversion about undesirable objects. The mind will become sensitive, very responsive, leading to various social problems, because we indulge ourselves. We leave our mind uncontrolled, so that the mind is not energized. We have to go according to the wish of the mind, not the mind according to our wish. Because of the lack of knowledge, the mind is not well developed, so that it remains tender, weak, so that it cannot withstand the onslaught of worldly conditions. We cannot repel the impurities because the mind is not developed. Because the mind is not mature, we cannot withstand the worldly conditions, the attack of worldly conditions. So, in this practice, understanding this nature, we do our best to cultivate our mind in time with the practice of Satipatthana. So, this makes a person a real yogi. Is what the yogi. Yogi is normally understood as simply meditator. In fact, yogi means the one who practices with the exertion of the 3 stages of energy. First of all, the initial launching energy, then the stepped up energy to overcome sluggishness or difficult conditions, and lastly, the progressive energy until we reach our cherished goal. And of course, this yogi terminology becomes well known throughout the country, throughout the world. So, such person coming into possession of these Lola Variya, that means striving energy, is the benefit of the practice. Hence it is known as bhavana, mind development. And before the practice also, one understands develop. At the beginning of the practice, one develop it. That is bhavana, in order to develop our mind so that our mind becomes stronger from weakness, and then to become mature from tenderness. So in this way, our target is to reach the maturity of our mind and insight with the application of the 3 stages of energy. Then the mind will become vitalized, second by second, every second by second, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, and month by month. The mind is developed and enhanced. Then one becomes a worthy, real yogi. That is the immediate benefit. With the developed mind, one can repel the worldly conditions. And with the maturity of the mind, one can withstand the ups and downs of life. So this is required by everybody, irrespective of their denomination and race or creed or sex. This is required for everybody. At one time, during the Buddha's time, one Devata approached the Buddha and asked about this confusion in the world, in and out, external and internal confusion in the world. That is, in short, it is entanglement leading to social problems. Entanglement mainly in terms of craving, lust, attachment. As sentient beings, mostly these pleasures of senses, karma gunas, plus, of course, other impurities, defilements, leading to wrong thought, word and deed. So just look at the world by yourself. You'll find how the world is confused, not being able to control the desires, especially sense indulgence, leading to all sorts of madness. Because one is overcome by aversion. Due to aversion or anger, there's madness of anger, aversion, called madaka. And then with madness, one wants to commit cruelty, harm others. That also is madness of anger. And then there's another kind of madness, madness with wrong views. Leto madaka. So all sorts, leading to sacrificial rites and rituals. So, and also there is this delusion when people are confused, bewildered, then one is overcome by this kind of madness with delusion, or madaka, leading to social problems. And then madness with devils or demons, madness of demons, and with madness with some kind of diseases in the body, madness by taking intoxicants. That is another kind of madness, all sorts of madness. And in between, one cannot overcome this kind of madness with the practice of Satipatthana, which is a remedy to overcome madness and cultivate the mind and insight. Then one is overcome by grief. One will grieve because of the destruction of wealth, or one of the family members, or one's position is in the job, in the an occupation is affected, or one is affected by certain diseases. So one can also grieve because of that. So this is another kind of madness with grief. So if you look at the world in general, you'll find that the world is entangled with all sorts of problems, internally and externally. This is what is meant by being disentangled with the tangle. So who can disentangle this tangle? That is the question posed by this Devata to the Blessed One. So the Buddha gave the answer, which is very remarkable, and this will be discussed in brief. Buddha replied that bhikkhus can disentangle such tangle. Well, not the bhikkhu by appearance. There are implications. Bhikkhu is the one who sees danger in the suffering of the round of existence. Because possessing this mind-body or existing, being reborn to possess mind, body, psychophysical phenomena, one can degenerate oneself if one does not improve. Sometimes one degenerates, one becomes a degenerate. At another time, one improves, one gets to a higher position. At other times, one reverts to state of degeneration, and in this way going up and down with this mind-body existence, being reborn and reborn several times, innumerable times. And with one's mind-body existence, one will be not free from this universal suffering of aging, sickness and death. And meanwhile, if one has committed unskillful deeds, akusala, it will be worse. So, seeing this the danger in rounds of existence is what makes a bhikkhu. This psychophysical existence, mind-body existence, is faulty. The fall of this root cause of this lies in the impurities. As has been discussed previously, 100% of the suffering in the beings has the root cause in impurities, kilesas. And because of them, indulging in them, one is overwhelmed by these social problems. One gets involved in the social problems and one suffers because of these impurities. That's what the Buddha said. Buddha says that the bhikkhu is the one who sees dangers in the suffering of round of existence. And one should also see the danger. If one does not look, one will not see. One must look to see the danger in the round of existence. So, one of course cannot destroy, cannot get rid of this resulting samsara, round of existence. It is already here. One cannot do anything about it, one cannot destroy it, one cannot get rid of it. It is impossible to get rid of it, because one is already in it. But one can overcome or destroy, get rid of the causes of this samsara, round of existence, so that it will not continue again. And one must overcome, one must eradicate the root causes, meaning these impurities which are the causes for new becoming. So one must destroy them in order to be free from the round of existence. So seeing the danger in samsara, the suffering of samsara, which is the root cause, and the root cause lies in the defilements, one must destroy the root cause. So such a person is in Pali bhikkhu, seeing the danger in the round of existence. And because one does not wish to be caught up in this round of existence, one destroys the root cause of the samsara. That also is bhikkhu. Now, we have discussed this yogi. Now we are talking about bhikkhu. They are the same in meaning, although different in wording. Now, if one exerts energy in 3 stages, then with the exertion of energy, kilesas are not accepted. By not accepting, they are said to be abandoned or overcome. And with the practice of the 3 trainees, sila, samadhi, panya, kilesas are just crushed to pieces. they are one and the same. Not accepting, not allowing kilesas to come into you and destroying, crushing them is one and the same. Of course, not to destroy after they have arisen. You must prevent them from arising. So the one who assumes the name of bhikkhu can prevent these kilesas from arising, at least on a part-time basis, overcoming them. In this way, a bhikkhu will be able to disentangle this external and internal tangles. So, how is it? Is every bhikkhu can do it? That's the question. Of course, a bhikkhu who has certain qualities that we shall discuss. What the Buddha answered was in a very short verse. First, this expression, so bhikkhu. That means that bhikkhu, that kind of bhikkhu. Now, which kind of bhikkhu? The kind of bhikkhu which possesses 6 qualities. First of all, this sile patithaya. One must be grounded in moral conduct. One must have this conscious commitment and virtue. Abstaining from the prohibitions by body and speech. Sustaining one's moral conduct so as to purify one's physical and verbal behaviors so that it become blameless. So, if one practices like this moral conduct, sila, for the monks they have this disciplinary rules of conduct for monks, and for the laity there are also these rules of conduct for the laity, and if they are able to sustain them, not to break or weaken them, then they are said to be established in morality, sila, that is sile patithaya. In this way, one's physical verbal behaviors will become pure and gentle. In this way, one is said to be established in sila. When one has this sila, then one is said to be listed or is listed in the category of a bhikkhu, not just nominal bhikkhu, but the real bhikkhu, overcoming the gross forms of defilements, vitekama kilesas, and by this one is basically good, being grounded in the sila, being able to overcome or disentangle the internal and external problems in their own right. Just being grounded in sila is nothing to do with the rebirth consciousness. Whether the knowledge had the rebirth consciousness, whether your rebirth consciousness is accompanied with knowledge or not, one can practice and sustain sila. Even animals can do. So, to disentangle this tangle, to solve these internal, external problems, sila is only just the basic. It can only overcome physical, verbal misbehaviors, gross type of behaviors which will defile oneself, making oneself a degenerate and harming others. Still, we have other practices to be accomplished, namely to cultivate one's mind and to overcome these latent tendencies. So these methods remain to be practiced. So to destroy, to overcome these medium, obsessive kinds of defilements and the latent tendencies, such a person should possess knowledge and rebirth consciousness at the time of birth. This is given by this expression, sapenyo. Knowledge, birth consciousness, to be accompanied with knowledge. So in the beginning of one's life, when one consciousness is accompanied with knowledge, then this is the basic. But one cannot see whether one was born with knowledge or not, or whether our rebirth consciousness was accompanied with knowledge or not. But what is essential is, even if we don't possess this knowledge, even if our rebirth consciousness is not accompanied with knowledge, we can fulfill the spiritual perfections so that our next birth is accompanied with knowledge. However, judging from the fact that we are here to undertake the high-level discipline of the way of mindfulness, we can judge that our rebirth consciousness has been accompanied with knowledge, and such is known as sapenyo. So this sapenyo, rebirth consciousness accompanied with knowledge, is a very essential quality for the high-level discipline. Now this rebirth consciousness accompanied with knowledge is again not enough. We have to practice further, as is given by this expression, Chaitan Pinyacha Bhavayam. That means one must cultivate knowledge or wisdom with the practice of mindfulness, with the mind development practice. To cultivate insight knowledge leading to path and fruition consciousness. To practice every arising object, trying to connect with every arising object precisely in order to deepen the concentration, then there will be no impurities, the mind will become pure. And when we say cultivating the mind, deepening concentration means the mindfulness sati also is involved, and so is viriya, energy. And this way we cultivate these three wholesome mental states, viriya, sati, samadhi. Every moment, every second, every minute, we practice 1 minute, 60 seconds, there will be 60 moments of this viriya, sati, samadhi. And 5 minutes, 300, and so on. In this way, we develop these wholesome mental states, enhance them so that they become, they pile up, they become developed, they multiply more and more. In this way, as much as one is able to exert energy, there will be mindfulness, and every exertion of energy will lead to every sustained mindfulness. In this way, one has got to develop, one has to cultivate. And with the mindfulness, there will be concentration. So this way, viriya leading to sati, and then to samadhi, in this case, khanika samadhi, momentary concentration. We are practicing in order to cultivate and develop this momentary concentration. That is what is meant by this Chaitan Vinyancha Bhavayam.
Chaitan Bhavayam. Pinya Bhavayam.
Chaitan Bhavayam only, not yet Pinya. So with the practice of this viriya, sati, samadhi, three wholesome mental states, continuously let them arise, building momentum continuously, so that the preceding mindfulness is continuous with succeeding mindfulness, and the preceding concentration is continuous with the succeeding concentration. Then the mind becomes energized, so that it becomes strong, it becomes enlarged from this smallness or weakness, like the weakling becomes a strong one, a powerful one, so that one will be able to repel any adverse worldly conditions. because the mind gains the upper hand of these worldly conditions, not the other way. But of course, at this stage, one has not cultivated any insight knowledge. So the mind is not mature, not developed in that respect, in that way, with knowledge. So it needs to develop further in order to cultivate knowledge, beginning with the comprehension of mind and body, discernment of mind and body, the comprehension of the causal mode, and then as one advances in insight stage, one comes to see the arising and passing away of the objects noted, and then their unsatisfactory nature, especially when one experiences excruciating pain in the body, unbearable pain, then one knows that one realizes the existence of this unsatisfactory nature. And then all these conditioned things are not controllable, not governable. They arise at their own will. There's no self or soul in it, no living entity, no abiding core. They are arising at their own will, not at your will. So this is cultivating insight knowledge. This is Paṇḍitā, wisdom, arising in stages. This is from Vipassana. This is the beginning of this insight wisdom, Vipassana Paṇḍitā. And one has got to practice in order to enhance and develop it further, build up momentum. Now the practice that you are all doing, namely the Satipatthana, is to enhance this wisdom. Piññam pāvayam, practicing to cultivate wisdom. So with this, from Vipassana Paṇḍitā to Ariya Paṇḍitā, that is what our goal. So from the point of view of the mind, after we have developed, it becomes pure and well developed with the practice of Ariya Sati Samadhi, and with the cultivation of knowledge, as the noting mind is concurrent with the object of observation, one sees the true nature of these objects, that is Paṇḍitā. So in this way, look at this situation. With the purification of the mind, one is free from this obsessive impurities, defilements. One is not entangled in this kind of tangle of obsessive defilements. And with the cultivation of knowledge, wisdom, one overcomes the latent tendencies on a momentary basis, on a part-time basis. In this way, one is said to have disentangled this tangle of latent tendencies. So in this way, one is purifying stage by stage. As much as one gains insight knowledge, one's mind becomes mature, well developed. From tender stage, it reaches the stage of maturity. So that whenever one encounters these worldly conditions, good and bad situations, one's mind will not, what is known as ferment, putrefy, become sour, they become impure because of these kilesas. In this way, one is able to build up one's stamina so that one can withstand any adverse situations, conditions, so that one will not be moved, one will not be shaken by these good and bad conditions. Instead, one's mind becomes balanced, neither this extreme nor that extreme, so that one's mind is not moved or shaken by these adverse conditions. So, with the cultivation of the mind is energized. And with the cultivation of knowledge, one knowledge grows. This is the fourth quality that the bhikkhu is to possess. Chaitam Bhavanaya. In this, from this, we take that we cultivate the three wholesome mental states, Viriya, Sati, Samadhi, but normally we take only Viriya out of these three wholesome mental states. But at this stage, this kind of viriya is not real, high-quality viriya. According to this expression, chitta, we take only ordinary concentration, samadhi. When we say samadhi, sati also is involved. Now, in order to deepen samadhi, we have to exert our energy, especially to overcome the difficult situations. We have to boost up our energy, the second state energy. Then only there will be this sustained mindfulness. So, according to this word chitta, mind, means for the application of viriya, sati, samadhi, we take the viriya as a factor, but this viriya at this stage is not so powerful. In a sense, it is only samadhi. And with the exertion of energy, one sustains mindfulness, activates mindfulness. Now, in this case, we need atapi, ardent energy, real striving energy. Every second of the practice, every time an object arises, beginning with to activate mindfulness of every arising, beginning with the primary object. To connect precisely with the object as it arises with ardent energy. Not the usual casual way, not being slack, not with laxity. Otherwise, this viriya will lose momentum. If viriya loses momentum, then one's mindfulness will not, one's naughty mind will not be able to catch up with the object as it arises. So one's energy, mind, has to be alert, wakeful, diligent all the time, especially boost up one's energy to overcome this slackness and laxity, not wishing to exert energy in the beginning, and even if one exerts energy in the beginning, one gets exhausted very soon. So this is another essential quality. So this is the benefit. Because of the exertion of ardent energy, kilesas are not given a chance to arise in one stream of consciousness. Otherwise, if we are slack, then kilesas are bound to enter. We will be allowing these kilesas to enter. Now with ardent energy, kilesas have no chance of arising, and they are said to have lost their chance. So this one must possess this kind of viriya. The analogy given here is when you bake or when you apply heat or put in the fire a block of iron or iron bar, then as the heat is intense, the iron bar will become very red hot, so that nobody can handle it. No insect can rest on it, because it's red hot. So too, if you can heat up your noting mind, stream of consciousness, with lamna variya, ardent energy, so that there will be no cooling of the mind, no slackness, no coolness, no laxity, no hesitation. Because of the intense heat, the mind is said to be heated up. Because it is rigid, it is not slack. Because it is wakeful, it is not sluggish. Because it is active, there's no slowness, no hesitation. And also with the viriya, this mindfulness also will be involved. The mindfulness will be instantaneous, as the stream of consciousness is red hot with the application of the heat of energy. As much as one is able to apply heat to one's noting mind, because of this intense energy, there will be no impurities by way of greed or hatred. And if one cultivates insight knowledge, there will be no impurity by way of delusion, moha, and also other impurities. So in this way, one can compare with this analogy. So if the yogis are able to heat up their stream of consciousness with viriya heat, energy, without slackness, without slackness of the mind, without exhaustion of the energy, and to be able to note instantaneously with ardent energy and not without slackness, with wakefulness, alertness, then one is able to accomplish these things. The quality of this nipaka, the power of nipaka, or prudence, power of prudence, the quality of prudence, reasoning power. This is power as a result of one's own experience. There are things to be abstained, unskillful deeds, unskillful physical, verbal deeds, behaviors, which need to be abstained, knowing that they are not beneficial. One knows, one abstains from such things. And also to observe beneficial things, knowing that they are beneficial physically and verbally. So one must know that such things are beneficial or not beneficial. If it's beneficial, you observe, and if it's not beneficial, you abstain. So this kind of power quality is the quality of prudence. And also one should be able to distinguish between what is beneficial and what is not. And if it's beneficial, then if the task is beneficial to do verbally, physically, then one does it. If it's not, after distinguishing that if it's not beneficial, then one abstains. So this kind of power quality is also known as parihariya panya, gain the prudential knowledge, quality of prudence. So the question is, should one observe or practice whatever is beneficial? One must look at whether such a task is suitable or not, appropriate or not. Only when this task is appropriate, you observe it. If it's appropriate and beneficial, you do it. Even if it's beneficial, if it's not appropriate, you abstain from doing it. So in this way, you have to understand also. You must be wise enough to know whether a task is suitable or not, besides knowing that it is beneficial or not. So, in this way, if a task is neither beneficial nor appropriate, then you abstain from doing it. And if it's beneficial and appropriate, then you observe it, you do it. Then it will be beneficial for you. And if you abstain from things which are not beneficial, neither beneficial nor appropriate, then no harm will come to you. This kind of quality is to be possessed. So the practice of Satipatthana is both beneficial and appropriate. At this moment, yogis know that this is the time to practice, and this is beneficial, and this is appropriate. This is an appropriate time to practice, and the practice also is beneficial. So this, with this nipaka pinya, the quality of nipaka prudence, you have come to the retreat, to the center, being grounded in Sila. That means, of course, you don't have to worry about whether your path consciousness is accompanied with knowledge or not. But since you have come here with faith and enthusiasm, we can take it that your birth consciousness, rebirth consciousness, is accompanied with knowledge. And besides exerting normal or initial launching energy, you step up your energy in order to overcome difficult situations or painful circumstances. In this way, you can overcome these problems, solve these internal and external problems. This is the sixth quality. So such a person is practicing the three training, Sila Samadhi Panya, having the quality of prudence, is destroying or ridding himself or herself of the three grades of impurities, the gross form, the medium form, and the refined forms. So in this way, such a person can solve these social problems, especially one's own problems. So a person, whoever possesses such six qualities, is known as bhikkhu. That's why it is so bhikkhu, so such. Such is the bhikkhu. Then one becomes a bhikkhu, a real bhikkhu, not a nominal yogi. If one does not possess such qualities, then one will be a nominal yogi. If one is a nominal yogi, then one will not be able to solve these problems and disentangle these tangles, internal and external tangles. Then one will be subject to stress, psychological sickness, madness and all sorts of madness. So if one has these qualities, then one will be able to solve these problems. Then as a human being living in this society, one should be able to solve one's own problem, individual problem, as well as the problem of the society within one's reach. So to do that, one must qualify in this way with having these six qualities to be a real, genuine bhikkhu and yogi, so that one will be able to face these worldly conditions with courage. And as for madness, this will be discussed tomorrow. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Tomorrow. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Tomorrow. Sadhu, sadhu.